Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at doing a performance review system in SharePoint using Infowise tools. And my name is Will Cooper. I'm the training coordinator for Infowise, and my background is as a web developer. I've done a lot with Microsoft tools, and several years ago I started doing a lot of focus with SharePoint. Just to tell you a little bit about our organization, Infowise is focused on allowing you to build complete solutions in SharePoint, using a tool set that makes it easy without having to do any programming, just through simple settings and configuration. We really have fun setting up these tools, and we're making improvements all the time. So we really like what we do. I do want to tell you at the end, we're going to do a drawing for a shirt. So please hang on in there. We have embroidered polo shirts. That is for people in the US only. Just want to let you know about that. So just to tell you about my philosophy as far as it relates to building solutions in SharePoint, this is really about doing things the easiest possible way. It does feel like at times when you're trying to build custom solutions for your business in SharePoint that things can get, really tricky. Somebody said they still have issues with audio. Can you guys hear me okay? If you can't, just post a message in the chat and let me know if you have any issues with audio. Okay. So our tools are available for SharePoint Online and for on-premise SharePoint. Anything that you see today can work for either of those. Okay, thanks. I saw your posts in the chat. All right, and just to give you a little bit of ground rules, I think you guys have this figured out pretty well. If you do have questions just about our tools or anything at all, just go ahead and post those into the questions interface. If I don't get your question right away, please don't worry. I promise you I will see them before the end, and I will follow up with you. And if you want, you can email to willc@infowisesolutions.com, and we can answer any questions that way. Okay, for on-prem Infowise, it's installed on the SharePoint server, so it becomes accessible to all your users. So it's, in both cases, it's deployed through your administrative tools, and then it becomes available to all your users. Okay, so let me switch over to my other view. Okay, so the way I'm going to go about things today, I'm going to start by showing you the functionality and how things work, and then we're going to talk about how this solution can be built. So I want you to kind of see how everything comes together, and then help you understand how you can set something similar up, just through some easy settings and configuration. So there's really just a few key lists in this solution, and actually one primary list, which is for the review records. So the first thing here I have for my review template for 2019 annual review, I just have this as a way for us to auto-generate reviews for users. So this is where you can put kind of some summary information, where as an HR rep you could define what's going to be used for a whole batch of reviews that you're getting ready to assign. So this one I just have for 2019 annual review. That's really all there is for that list. It's just a way to define, a set of reviews where you have some common field values. And then this employees list just defines the managers and employees that are going to be assigned to these related reviews. So let me go ahead and reset. I had one here that I was going to do, but I'm just going to delete that because I want to show you guys this process. And what I'm going to do is go back to this employees list. And the way this would be used, basically, I could just check a box next to any given employee who I want to assign a review to. And I could do these in batch if I want to. In this case, I'm just going to do it for this one employee. And this is kind of first piece of the Infowise functionality that you can see. I have a user-facing action button that I've defined. So I'm going to click this button, and it's going to trigger some workflow that I was able to define through Infowise Actions. It's going to auto-generate a record for me. So it's going to spin through that process, and once it gets through that, what it does is it's going to auto-generate these records to show on our reviews dashboard. Okay, so there's our record, and let me get to my email. I want to show you, what this looks like in the email. Okay, so this is for Brad. Brad gets an email and it tells him you've been assigned to do your annual review. Okay, really simple. It just tells him, all right, you need to get in there and get this review done by the due date, which we assign. We kind of put an image in here to make it look user friendly. And then all Brad needs to do is just click on the link. It'll take him directly to that SharePoint record. So here's Brad's review. You can see they're grouped by the managers, and he's going to be able to go in that. Now, as it relates to doing this type of system, item level security is really important, and that could be horribly complicated in SharePoint normally. And what I mean is that this is sensitive information. Nobody needs to be looking at Brad's review information except for Brad and his manager, and some members of the HR team who are going to be administrators for their tool. And we don't want to have to manually deal with item level permissions. That would just be a horrible headache. So we do want some automation in the system to be able to handle that. We want to know with confidence that nobody would be able to view information that they're not supposed to look at. Okay, I've got a second browser window here, and I'm logged in as Brad. And the first thing I want you to notice right away is that as Brad, I only see my own review. I don't see those other reviews that you saw on the other dashboard. And that's because in the background, we have some actions set up to set the security and make sure that I just see those records. And same goes for Brad's manager. So handling that is important as far as the record, and then also what's in the review record as well. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, for Brad, it's really simple. He just comes in here, and the first tab, I've got this information that came from our template, and it's read-only. It's just summary information about this review that I've been assigned to complete. Okay, so I go to the Employee tab, and it gives me a nice definition at the top. You see I've got a table, helps me understand what these ratings mean for this review that I've got to fill out. The important thing to understand about this is all customizable. You're going to be able to define this according to whatever your organization does. So you can set up these snippets of messages and things like that to guide your users and make it specific to what you do in your organization. So I come in here, notice that if I click on the Manager tab, that's showing read only because I'm Brad, I'm not the manager. I can only fill out the information on this tab here. Okay, so I'm going to put in, in the interest of time, I'm just going to paste in some dummy text. So I'm giving myself this is my self-assessment, right? I'm giving myself ratings on how I think I did and providing some additional notes and description for that. Okay, so this is kind of the first step. We've got a multi-step process that we're going through. I'm doing my self-assessment, and I got to get through all my questions. And then we have spots. These are all rich text fields. They have spots for goals, accomplishments, that kind of thing. And once I've done that, I could work on this, right? If I'm not ready to submit that to my manager, I could save this. Maybe I need to go out and get some notes. I want to look up some information because I want to make sure I really do a good thorough review and I list all my accomplishments, all that kind of stuff. So the next step in the process really only begins when I do my sign off. Okay, so there's a signatures tab that I set up. Notice, with the reviews, we're going to have all kinds of information, right? We don't want to have a long scrolling form, so we kind of broke it out into logical sections. So I just marked complete and whoops, okay, I didn't sign off. So signatures are a key part of this process. What we're looking for is for Brad to sign and say, yes, we're kind of trying to make things official. I've done my review, and basically I sign that I'm done and complete. And also, we want to have a nice automatic history tracking. We want to kind of see when things take place in regard to this overall process for the review. Okay, so I did sign, which is going to give my signature, and that's going to complete the first step, right? So on my dashboard, what's cool is we have these nice visual indicators, right? Employee review is complete. Brad can see where things are if he wants to see when his manager's done the review, et cetera, so on down the line. Meanwhile, in my other view, say as an HR manager, I can see the progress of my employees as they're going through this. So we've got a nice progress bar, shows I'm 33% complete. I've got a nice indicator icon that shows now we're to the manager review process. How did the manager know that it's time for review? Well, they also get a nice email, just like the employee did. And we set that up through actions so that Brad's completed the review, you're assigned the review. This is the manager review part of the process, okay? So we get those nice prompts along this way. This is all configuration things that we're setting up. Okay, so Heather's coming in now. Notice when I come in as Heather, the permissions are a little different. As Heather, I can access the fields in the manager view. So I'm going to do something similar to what Brad just did, except this is my assessment of Brad, and I'm going to complete all this information and fill it in this section. Okay, so I'm going to go through. I'm going to say Brad needs to work on his organization, so I'm going to mark him down a little bit for that, and just work my way through this. And I can kind of click back and forth. I can see what Brad put, and maybe kind of respond to some of the things that he's put in there. And once I'm done, I can go ahead and have a meeting with him, and then do my sign off to officially submit for that. There's Brad's signature for him completing his first step. And now I'm going to give my manager signature. Notice our history updated. It shows me the date and time that Brad made his submit for the review, and now it's going to do the same thing for the manager. All right, so we're going to save that, and we'll see another update. And just like before, we see updates with our status. We see these nice green check boxes that helps me know when the employee, the manager is done. HR is going to like this, right? We have some automation in the background. Notice the status changed to HR review. Now we've got our progress bar 2/3 full. HR is going to get an email just like the other ones, and they're going to be the last step in the process. So they need to check and see, did the manager do what they're supposed to do? Did they complete all the information? So they may just have, a few fields of information that they've got to fill out, and they're going to do kind of their final sign off to say that this review process was done and completed correctly by both the manager and the employee. So that's kind of the final thing that needs to happen with the review. Now these records are important, and what we'd really like at this point in time is a snapshot of this entirety of everything that's been filled out here. And not just in the SharePoint list. I'd like to have something that I could print out, say put in the employee file or attach somewhere else. And what's cool is that we also, with these tools, have some functionality to auto-generate, a PDF, and this is, can't be changed, right? So here is all of that information outputted to a nicely formatted PDF, which could go in that employee's file. Not only that, we've got a nice summary information about when those reviews were submitted, kind of some nice official information, as well as a history of everything that took place with that review. So we have that nice, cleanly formatted PDF report that gets generated at the very end. Okay. So every aspect of what I demonstrated with this functionality, you can build yourself, in really just a few hours by just going through steps. And none of the steps that you would need to go through are really very complicated at all. So I'm going to kind of walk you through some of the things taking place with the settings to help you understand what you would do to build this kind of system. Okay. So once you have Infowise in your system, you're going to be able to have access to the Infowise Hub, which is the Infowise design screen. When I click on these puzzle pieces, it'll take me there. And this is my jump off spot to everything that I need to do. Just a couple of clicks for me to get there. I can jump in and out of the screen. Right here in SharePoint, I don't have to download any external tools or anything like that. It's just right next to my list. Okay, so remember at the very beginning, I needed to generate these reports, right? So I have a really simple action for that. Remember that cool button dialog I had? You just click the button and it makes the reviews when HR needs to sign, 100 reviews to like all these different people. All I did was create this one action. I made a setting. I said I want the button to have this icon with this drop-down menu. I could make it look like whatever I want. And what I did is I said, this is an action to create a list record in the reviews list. And I said, okay, make the employee field, whatever is the name of the employee, manager, right? I'm just mapping the field values over. And then if you remember, I had that template list, and this is looking up that information for me. So I had the things such as the start period, end, due dates, all that kind of stuff. I just had to map in these fields and enter that one action, and that's it. Once I have that set up, I'll never have to do anything else with this again. This just made it so I can click a button, auto-generate those reports. Okay. Now in the reviews list, that's kind of the main list, right? That's where we have most of our customization, and we want to do all those things to make it look nice. We have those indicators showing status, progress, all that kind of cool stuff. All of that customization was on the reviews list. And in order to do those things, I'm really just accessing simple drop-down menus and doing simple choices to get everything to look the way that I want it to look. So here's one, I had the one job knowledge was the criteria. And these are called color choice fields. This is what gives me those nice colored icons. We have this 1 through 5 scale, and rather than just have this kind of boring wasteland of white and gray, we have something that's actually eye-catching and stands out to everybody, and that's what we want in this type of system. So when I go in here, I can pick any kind of icon I want to match. And what you'll find is you'll want to use this type of field in place of a standard SharePoint status field because it just makes it look so much more user-friendly and eye-catching. So I just found these icons, matched them up, and I did it for all those. And I did something similar for the status. I want some kind of icon that helps me see on that dashboard what that looks like. So just by clicking through these and clicking update, really in a matter of minutes, I can make all those nice looking color choice status fields. Very easy to do. And then remember, we've got that tabbed interface. Right, we have lots of questions. We have manager questions, employee questions, HR questions, all this kind of stuff. Really, I need to break up that interface, right? So I need to be on the right list here. For this, I just go in and all you do is just type the names of tabs you want to use and click an add button, something like that. And then just choose which fields are going to go on the tab, set the order however you want, and that lets you break up that interface, get away from the long scrolling screen, that type of thing. And then also we can do things like have a custom header. You might have noticed in the interface that it showed like a nice banner across the top, kind of make things look polished, that type of thing. Another thing, I mentioned to you that the permissions are really critical, so we can talk more about that now. There's two aspects to that. One had to do with item level permissions, and the other had to do with permissions of fields actually within the form and differentiating there. And what I did with this, if you look at our manager tab, I'll show you some different tabs and show you how I configured those. What I said for the manager tab, I said if the user's not in the manager reviewers group, then they get a read level of access. They can see what's there, but they can't edit it. And I said, if you're in the managers group, then you can write. So I just had to make these two simple rules, and it's just picking some radio buttons and picking my SharePoint group, and that's really all there is to it. Similar kind of thing with HR. We don't want anyone except HR messing around with HR stuff, right? So they don't even see that tab whatsoever. So for HR, they can make their notes. They don't have to worry about anybody seeing that. There may be sensitive information, about, whatever, if this is going to be like a pay raise or something like that. So this deny and write rule make it so that HR is the only one who access that section. So I can do this at a tabs or field level. However I need to do it, I have total control over that configuration because, as we said, it's sensitive information in terms of what we're doing. Now, I mentioned item level permissions. Normally in SharePoint, you really want to avoid this type of thing, but there are situations where you have to do something like this, and this is one of those situations. If I get in some hot water, right? If I see somebody else's review that's not my team, we need to know with confidence that that can never happen. And what we have is some automation, which makes it such that our system's only going to provide that access to it by doing some actions in the background to do that. So you'll notice I have a couple of rules in this list of actions, and this is for me to dynamically configure that specific record and make it where only that one employee can see that. If you remember when I was logged in as Brad, I only saw my own record. And this happens automatically once I create the rule. I don't have to, go through any, layers deep configuration process. I just have these 4 simple tabs to fill out. And what I did is I said I want to do manage the permissions. When the new record comes in, what I need to happen for this specific record is I need to give whoever the name is in that employee field, I need to add them with contribute level of permissions. So I have total specific options to configure that, but I didn't have to know any fancy syntax. I didn't have to go into SharePoint Designer or anywhere else. I just have to configure that. And also, I had to do the similar thing for manager. So that made it where just that manager employee are going to get it. Meanwhile, though, as an HR user, I can have a dashboard like we saw where I can see all that. We had some other things like history logging, and that was configured with an action. And then we were automatically updating progress. We had a progress bar that was going out. So we just do these simple tabs that we go through for these actions. I can build this right up. And for me, this is indispensable. This is the machinery behind any business solution that you're going to create. And really any alternative tools to build this type of thing are painful to me just because it takes me so much longer to do it. Another part about it was the email alerts. I know I saw a question in the interface about that. The email configuration covers everything, and especially when I do something user-friendly with that. This part was very simple to set up. All that I needed to do is create 3 rules. I needed a rule for when the review was assigned. I needed a rule to prompt the manager when it's time for their review, and one for HR. The first thing you do, you go into this template editor screen, and it gives you a visual interface where you can make things look however you want. So I loaded an image, I did some background shading, And the way this works, you can insert fielded information from the list. So you see these square bracketed references to fields. That's how it's inserting the dynamic information, including this link specifically to the edit record. I can make the font size however I want, the colors how I want, et cetera, et cetera. So I define these content templates in here, and then I define my role. So, you know, for the new record, if I hit edit, I just said send that to me when an item's added, and then I just pick the content template. And then similar, when I wanted to make it prompt HR, this was in a specific situation, right? In this case, I'm looking when the item is modified and the manager review is changed to complete. So I can listen for that specific condition, and really at that specific time, we'll send out this email template, which I created. So email alerts are really easy to do, luckily. Validation, that's an important one. Remember that part where I tried to submit as the employee, but I didn't give my signature, and I was able to block on that. What we're able to do is do conditional validation, and that's critical. So rather than just what you get out of the box with SharePoint, I can define rules where validation's defined in a specific situation, and that's exactly what I needed in that case. So this was when the stat. So when let's take a look at one of these. We say that manager signature, that has to be yes in the case when the manager review is complete. So remember, they changed the status indicator to complete. What that means is this validation only will get enforced in that case. So it actually blocks them from saving the form. So those conditional validation rules will be key. One aspect to this solution we're looking at, we need to make sure they fill out all the fields, right? If their information wasn't complete. But I need that to validate only in the case when it's in that phase of the review process. And you can do that with these validation rules. And then the last part of this, I'll just show you real quick, is the PDF output. Again, another very easy thing to set up. I didn't have to do any formatting. It already provided me, you know, a special report for this. All you've got to do is, you know, just pick your list. This is the reviews list, and in here it'll store templates for me. So I have one I created called completed review, and literally the only thing that I did is go in here and pick the fields I wanted, the sequence I wanted them to show on. So I just came up with my list that was in the output. I put in some section headers. You see it says section employee, and then I was able to save that. Now, if I want to get more specific, I can do things like do custom orientation for the page size. You know, I could make this landscape mode if I want to. I could do custom headers and footers. So the flexibility is there to get more customized if I need to, but if I just need a quick report or something like that, I can do it pretty quickly with those settings. All right, so let's talk a little bit about next steps or ways that you could kind of take a look at this or practice doing this type of solution. So on our site, if you haven't taken a look at this, the most important thing I hope that you take away from today is you can try out these tools, you know, right away. We provide a free demo. It's not limited in any way. You can download and try out these tools. It is our entire tool set, and you have that available to you free for 30 days. If you click on Quick Start, it'll kind of tell you how to get to that, show you where to download the solution. The process is slightly different depending if you're on-prem or online. If you want to get on a call with us, if you want to talk about your organization and some of the specific challenges you're facing, we'll set up a web meeting with you. You can just click request a demo to do that.